God is good. God is good. God is good to me. How can I let him down? How can I let him down? How can I let him down when he's so good to me?
Somebody once asked me, hey, wouldn't it be easier if you just sent money to Honduras rather than spending all the money to go and to do this? And I said, look, you really don't understand. When you see Honduras, you might see the outline of a map or some place in Central America. But when I think of Honduras, I see individual faces. I see people who have needs, people that I love who've struggled. I see people that I know that I loved there in that country that helped us get to where we are today that have now gone home to be with the Lord. That's what I see when I look at Honduras. So our journey really began in 2012 when Perry Lunsford, who was drilling water wells, I went to Perry and I asked, Perry, we want to work somewhere in Central America. Where should we go? And he said, without question, go to Honduras. So in 2012, we did our very first trip and we drilled a water well in a place called Campo Nuevo. But on the way there, we met the trip leader. His name was Emilio. And one thing that I told Emilio was, Emilio, we don't want to continually come back and just drill water wells in different places. We want to get to know a community. And he instantly knew what I meant. And so he introduced us to a lady named Yesenia, who was a local pastor, and her husband, Leovardo. And she introduced us to the superintendent of a school. And it was there that we began. And so the very first year we built onto the school. The next year after that, we added 3 additional rooms to that school. And then God did some pretty cool things. He sent us a kindergarten teacher from another village who came and asked us, would you come to our village? And I knew that day when she came and talked to us, she was our next person of peace. And she led us to another place called Regadero. When we got off the van in Regadero, actually before we got off the van, we met a man whose name was Jesus Saldiva, Jesus. And that man was not a believer, but he had a cowboy hat on. And I instantly knew this was a place where we needed to do our next work. And that's exactly what we did. We built a kindergarten in the area of Regadero. That led us to now, as the community had gathered around it, we sought to build a church and to find a church planter for that area. And subsequent trips, we built a church, which they call EVC Regadero. From there, they told us at Regadero that there was a village that really needed help, and it was a place called Achiote. So we went to Achiote and we asked them, what's the situation? And they said, the government has promised us for years that they would build us a medical clinic, and they've never fulfilled their promise. And I was able to tell them, we will come back and build the medical clinic. And the very next year is the year that COVID hit, but we made sure that all the funds were there. And what happened was the community took the funds that we had provided and they built the clinic so that the promise that we had promised was actually fulfilled. That medical clinic served 5,000 families in that village and was able to provide COVID vaccines for that whole village. That whole village came to that medical clinic. And this year, for the very first time, we're utilizing medical personnel in our church to go back in June and to provide a medical clinic for the whole area. So we're seeing the gifts and talents of people in our church now going back to Honduras and using their talents in a building that God allowed us to provide for Achiote. The story, quite honestly, it's not written yet, and it's still continuing. And that's what we're most excited about.